Good afternoon and welcome to the midweek video. We continue as we look at Psalm 23 and we reach those verses 5 and 6. And verse 5 talks about that you prepared a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil and my cup overflows. Now it's often assumed that there is a move of location from out in the fields, the sheep and the shepherd, to now indoors, into a banqueting hall where there's possibly going to take a feast is going to take place. What I want to do is, I want to stick with the shepherd and the sheep out in the field. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. In Old Testament times, a table could often be a piece of leather. If they were very poor, it would be straw. So I want us to imagine that the shepherd is out in the field still with his sheep and he unrolls a piece of leather, and that is the table. And for the sheep he prepares some food. He carries some sheep food with him as an extra supplement for the sheep, and so he lays it on the leather table for the sheep to feed. And round about them there is plenty of wild animals that would love to eat the sheep. But the sheep know they are safe because of the presence of the shepherd. So they aren't fearful. The presence of the shepherd is enough for them. But then you anoint my head with oil. How does that work? Well, sheep are quite inquisitive animals. And they might see a few blades of extra green grass and they will go for it. And they'll start nibbling and they'll move a little bit further and they'll move a little bit further. And eventually what they might find is their heads are actually in a prickly bush. And it catches their head and it cuts their head and causes it to have cuts on it and bleed. And so what happens? The shepherd, who's carrying some oil with him, will lay that oil upon their heads and will use it as something to soothe the pain and the wounds. And he would relieve the pain. He would anoint their head with oil. My cup overflows. Well, they need food. They get their head anointed when it's been cut and needs some oil to soothe the pain. But they also need to drink. And so we get the impression here that the shepherd is extremely generous. My cup overflows. So the shepherd doesn't just give them a little drink and hoping that that might be enough, but their cup overflows. And it speaks of a generosity of the good shepherd. And so as we stick with this theme out in the fields, there is protection. Yes, there is wild animals. Yes, there is potential enemies. But you know, the presence of the good shepherd is enough to keep them calm and to relax and to know that no enemy can overcome them because the shepherd will not allow it. And there are times also for us when we are feeling hurt and we are going through times of discomfort. And in those times, the Lord can pour his oil upon us, that he can comfort us, that he can soothe the pain. And the cup overflows. Well, the Lord is very generous towards us. He blesses us time and time again. Just reflect on today or yesterday. Think about the fact that where you were, a roof over your head, something to eat. I'm going to say friends and family around about, maybe not in this particular time, but nonetheless the Lord is extremely generous towards us. Yes, he gives protection. Yes, he anoints, he soothes and brings comfort. And yes, he's very generous. There's a lot there to reflect on. God is an amazing good shepherd. God bless you.